welcome to the first episode of the Low Blood Pressure podcast. My name is Miles Abbott. Joining me today are Rohan Chaturvedi, Angus Chambers and Harry Nicoll. In this first podcast, we're going to discuss the origins of the podcast among many interests of our own. So let's get into this. Firstly, I'm going to ask my co-hosts to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Harry. My role within this podcast is to arrange guests to appear on the podcast with us, as well as planning and scripting with Miles. I'm a passionate Arsenal fan, and my rants on football and Wenger will soon become a regular appearance.
Hello, I'm Angus. I made the social media accounts for the podcast, made the Twitter. I helped me and Miles made the Instagram. So check us out on there. I'm sure you can find a link to them somewhere. Contrary to Harry, I'm actually a Tottenham fan, so there'll be a lot of opposition to Harry. I'm a passionate Tottenham fan, so yeah, I'll hand over to Rohan.
Yeah, I'm Rohan, and I've been doing graphical design and marketing strategies for the podcast, and I'm a passionate Chelsea fan, and you know there's going to be quite a bit of conflict, I guess, when it comes to football between us three, especially with Miles being a Man United fan.
We like our football, is essentially what we're trying to say to you. We're discussing football a lot.
I think we're right, we all support different clubs. So
yeah, got a good range.
Debates on it.
Right, so basically, obviously the podcast is called the Low Blood Pressure Podcast. It's quite an odd saying, most people probably will think it's quite regular. So, Rohan, can you kind of introduce the concept, the name, how it came about?
Yeah, so basically when we were thinking of the name, we were basically thinking about, so when we did our exams in the summer, we were kind of all quite laid back, and although we did get on well, you know, we sort of saw ourselves as a country to high blood pressure, having stress, as a lot of people around us were. We were quite laid back, chilled out, and enjoyed, and we thought, you know, we'd like to share those moments with you.
Yeah, because I think it was during GCSEs and everyone else was panicking, and we were quite chilled out, and it kind of came out from the expression of the opposite of high blood pressure.
It's the opposite of high blood pressure, which is exactly what people around us were. They had high blood pressure, they were easily stressed by things.
Yeah.
Not us.
Not
us.
Not us, we were exactly the opposite of that. And sort of another reason for this is, we mentioned that we're keen on football, but another thing we're also keen on is football Twitter. We're all avid followers of this. I think we'll get into that in another podcast, but it is quite a well-known saying by a couple of our people we aspire to.
Big up Giroud-esque.
Yes,
Azak Fever. Azak Fever.
I think we'll get into that in another podcast.
Righty FC.
I think it deserves a podcast to itself.
Yeah, so that's where the name comes from, and obviously, I think Angus, talk about how it's going to kind of be emulated in the podcast. The name,
How we're going to be laid back in our podcast.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, we don't have a script. We just go. We don't think what we're going to say.
Stress about what we're going to say.
Don't stress. We don't stay up ages. It's from the heart. It's passionate. We don't stay up ages the night before writing the script. We know exactly what we're going to say. We just rock up. You know.
Do the job.
We say our piece. Exactly.
I completely agree with that.
Alright, so obviously we've started a podcast. Some people will be wondering why. Why have we decided to start a podcast? I'll let Rohan take over this and then we'll just talk about it. So how did the podcast come
Stop ditching the stuff to everyone else. Why don't you explain it?
Okay, so I think from my perspective, a key reason for starting this podcast is it seems to be a growing trend at the moment. So obviously, I think we all know about the True Geordie and Lawrence McKenna, the podcast they run, and how that's grown as a podcast. And that is what we aspire to. You know, they are sort of idols of ours in the podcast world, and that was sort of a key reason for us starting it. I think.
Jackmate as well.
Jackmate
runs a good podcast.
Yeah,
runs a brilliant podcast.
No, Jackmate runs a good podcast.
Do you watch it?
Yeah, Ricky Gervais won that the other day.
yeah. He's a terrible
It
person.
has just copied the True Geordie, hasn't it? Well, we are as well. So obviously, I feel like the True Geordie really brought the podcast to England. Now, especially on YouTube, everyone's doing it.
It's a growing trend.
Yeah.
We want to jump on that.
Yeah, we jump on the bandwagon.
Jump on the bandwagon.
Like Arsenal fans, you have one, Jackmate, everyone's starting one.
Exactly.
And I mean, it had Robbie Williams on the other week, just massive, really.
It's true. Alan Shearer, he's had him there as well.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The baldy.
The
delusional baldy.
They should have had him on like this week, and they could have talked about controversy.
I'm sure we'll get onto him.
Dreadful
opinions. I think also, another reason for us starting this up is, we're all passionate people, as we mentioned. We have strong views on many subjects. I think
Understatement.
by starting a podcast, this is a better way for us to express our views, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to listen. But ultimately, we are passionate people, and this is a perfect opportunity for us to express that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're quite straight to the point. We don't really care what other people think.
Around the bush.
Yeah, say it as it is, straight to the point. And we do conflict with each other's opinions on quite a lot of subjects, including recently. But we don't really, as we said before, low blood pressure, not high blood pressure about these kinds of things, and and I think especially when opinions will clash, we don't care.
And there is also the technical and official reason. It's for the CAS project.
The CAS project, yeah. So it was an old idea that we had at the start of the year, wasn't it? And then it kind of died out. I can't remember the exact reason. I think it was because
we just couldn't be bothered.
We had someone who remained nameless.
Our tech man wasn't very good.
Yeah, the person we had.
A bit of a bottle job.
He has been replaced.
Yeah.
Poor mentality.
So it was a good idea. And it almost happened. It kind of died, and then we revived this big gas. And that's what we're doing here now.
By the way, if you're listening, old tech man,
oh my god,
you got poor mentality and you're a bottle job.
Oh my god, yeah. The person,
we do love
sound
you.
engineer's loving this right now. We'll get onto it later, won't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, I think ultimately the ultimate aim of this podcast is to get people on, to entertain people, and sort of what I want to know is, if you had a dream person you could get onto this podcast, who would it be? I'll start with you, Miles. Who would you love to get on?
I mean, this is the dream. It would be the true Geordie, to be honest, because I think we could get some advice from him. I think it'd be quite interesting. Maybe actually not the best choice looking back, because I know so much about him, so I wouldn't really learn much. But I think he'd be a great guest, and just to get his advice, and obviously, is a bit of an inspiration to us. So
Yeah, I agree.
I'd love to get him on.
I think I see quite a few similarities between us and him in the fact that
We like Lawrence, to be honest.
Guys, just on the true Geordie, because a lot of people that listen
we need to fill in.
might not even know who the true Geordie is. He's essentially he's a YouTuber. He's from Newcastle.
He is a Geordie. He's a
true Geordie. He's from
outside.
Newcastle. He's a passionate Newcastle fan. He makes a lot of videos about football. And a couple of years ago, in August or something, he started doing a podcast with his friend Lawrence McKenna.
I watched the first one.
So he talks about a range of things. He talks about anything, football,
I think
politics.
it depends on the guest he's got on, but I think what's particularly good about his podcast is there is a wide diversity of guests.
That's why
Exactly.
it's so successful.
So obviously his success has come from talking about football and Newcastle in particular, but actually what he's done really well within the podcast is he's not just limited it to that, he's actually got a wide range of people onto it and different sort of tastes as such, so it's not restricted to just football, and I think that's our aim with a podcast like this. We don't want to just have a restricted group of people listening to it.
Yeah, exactly. That was my worry with this podcast, because obviously football, we will talk about it because we're all football fans, but if you do let's say a Man United fan channel, you can only get views and subscribers and fans from United. You do a football fan channel, only the football fans, and the wider range, the more people can listen and enjoy it. So
yeah, I completely agree. I think getting the true Geordie on, like you said, what he's actually grown from is unbelievable, because I remember his first video.
You showed me.
I did. I remember his first video. He was literally just he almost reminds me of some of the people you get on these Arsenal fan TVs nowadays. He was just.
It's just the Nile Ranger, right?
Yeah, the Nile Ranger.
Watch it. It's so funny.
Watch it if you haven't seen it actually. If you're keen on football and rant in particular, I think you'd enjoy this, because what it sort of encapsulates is passion about football, not caring what other people think, expressing your true views, and you can see from that video he is a true football fan, and he did this video. Obviously, it's his purest and most honest video, because he wasn't making it for any sort of subscriber or monetary gain. It was his first ever video, and as he's expressed on a number of occasions, it was intended to be his only video. He didn't intend to start a channel on the back of it.
It's called Football Fan 98.
And yeah, I that video in particular is one of my favourites of his. But I think if you compare a video like that to sort of the podcast he's making now, or the football reviews he does now, it's he's a lot more select, I'd say. He's grown a lot, and I think I'd love to get him on and ask him sort of his views on that.
Yeah, when did you find out about him, Rohan?
It was actually quite recently. I mean, I wasn't one of his first
the ultras.
Yeah.
Harry showed me.
His old fans.
Yeah,
There's some interesting videos.
Yeah, I was never really like an ultra of his, and I only found out quite recently. But like I watched a couple of his podcasts, and I think one thing that was really impressive about him, even though I don't know, even though I didn't know a lot about him, I think the fact that he managed to even meet Alan Shearer and get him in and speak to him is actually really impressive considering where he came from. It's ridiculous.
That's the idol of his.
Yeah.
And what started off with him slagging off, a fringe player, what he's grown to.
Yeah. He's very impressive. Yeah, we all were a big fan of him, so I'm sure we'll reference him a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, constant reference to him.
Move on
We
from
can talk about him for a while.
Brian.
I think eventually we will get onto a podcast more specific to him and YouTubers in general.
We'll definitely do one on YouTube in general.
Yeah,
right. How about you, Ben?
Shout out Jake Paul.
Well, I did allude to this at the start when I was introducing myself. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan. I think a dream and nightmare of mine would be to get Arsene Wenger onto a podcast like this. And what I mean by that is,
Rant at him.
I'd absolutely love to sort of meet the man behind. He made Arsenal fans' dreams when he first came to the club, and you've got to have so much respect for that. What he transformed us from. However, my love for him is wavering, to say the least. I think that's it's constant with a lot of Arsenal fans. They feel like he's almost power hungry and he can't let go of it. I think actually there was a quote from his former wife, and she even said that she observed a change. I'll express former wife, and obviously there are reasons for that.
Just couldn't let go of her.
But she said she observed the change in him, and I'd sort of, I've noticed that as well. He's become more stubborn in a sense. He doesn't want to let go. He seems, obsessed with the power he's got at the club. But I think one of the main things I'd like to ask him, and obviously this is assuming he'd come on and he'd be honest, what actually goes on behind the scenes at Arsenal, because it's an absolute circus act. I mean,
Would you slate him?
No, I'd just be honest. I'd be frank with him, because is what's going on totally his fault? No, absolutely not. He's part of the problem, and obviously I could talk all day about him and Arsenal and sort of the shortcomings I see in them. But the main thing I'd want to ask him if he came on is what actually went on during that time, because obviously you got the majority shareholder Stan Kroenke, who his nickname's Silent Stan. He doesn't say a word. No one knows anything about the man. He sort of lives on his Texas ranch, collecting the money from the club at the end of the week, and that's all you hear about him. It's all good coming out of the media and sort of speaking positively about the club and your ambitions for it, but we never hear anything from him. And that would be fascinating for me. Ask him, what goes on behind the scenes and sort of his reasons for clinging on to sort of Arsenal Football Club for so long. Because I mean, from my perspective, he should have gone 5 years ago. But I'd love to get him on. He's an idol of mine, and I'd just love to quiz him on it.
Yeah. And I think now I'll probably move on to like who my dream guest would be. Yeah, my dream guest would probably be Elon Musk, and I know like that's probably a bit different from your guys, but
I don't even know who it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing out. All right, so to you guys and Miles, who might not know, he's basically an absolute inspiration. So I'll explain it from the start. So he started off like in South Africa in like a pretty tough family and like got bullied quite a lot. But he did really well, came and then moved like without his parents' consent to Canada, joined up with his aunt, worked really hard, coded a lot, did loads and loads of stuff by himself and projects, and got into an Ivy League school, UPenn. From there he like started his businesses and then moved to California, and he now runs companies that you might know such as Tesla, SpaceX. Yeah. And he's also like he was one of the first. He created one of the first online banks. He created PayPal.
Yeah. We used PayPal the other day. I was like, PayPal.
So why haven't you heard of him, Miles? What's going on?
No,
yeah.
Actually,
what's going on, mate?
Was he the one who tried to sue Jeremy Clarkson? Because I saw that recently. Because basically, it was right. So basically,
our sound man just let us know that was true.
Shout out to Christian.
When you revealed his name. Yeah, so basically, like this is a few years ago, Jeremy Clarkson did reveal one of the original electric Teslas and absolutely slated it, and Elon Musk tried to like sue him, but because it's freedom of choice.
Yeah, I mean, like he's sort of released like another car. He's re-released his first car, but like I think the kind of stuff that he's doing is pretty ridiculous as well. Like his ambitions, like loads of people that I know. I'm not gonna name names, right? I'm not gonna name names, but there's quite a few people that say he's ridiculous and and that what he's trying to do is completely absurd. But I completely disagree with that, because if you're gonna make it somewhere, you've got to aim for something absurd, or you're not gonna do anything slightly substantial. And the fact that he's aimed for it and been quite open about it and encouraged
like
it is
Tammy Abraham, he's gonna win the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, but like,
did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, and like, even though like you think it's a joke, like Nicholas Bentner when he said, what was it?
That was a joke. And
Yeah.
so was he.
Yeah, like although like this can be seen as a joke, like it's quite good to have that kind of mentality. And I think, like, alluding back to True Geordie, that's like, even though he didn't start with it, the fact that he managed to get Alan Shearer on it, I'm sure that kind of dream kind of led him to it, and I think that's kind of an inspiration and why I want him in, because like, if he was here, I want to get an insight into his mind and how it works.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And Angus, who'd you bring in as your dream guest then?
Well, so we've had a YouTuber,
Yeah.
we've had a businessman, well, we've had a fraud. Arsenal, we had a foot manager. I would ask Eminem.
Interesting.
Sorry, but I
Wait,
don't rate him.
wait. Okay, let me say why.
You saw
Why?
him, didn't you?
I've seen him live. I saw him at Reading this year. Unbelievable. But ever since so I'm quite into my rap, my grime, my music,
Yeah.
Love it.
and
Chaz, your playlist. I don't
so-
think there's a single song that isn't explicit.
Yeah.
No, there is one.
Is there one?
There's one.
Okay.
Gigs.
Now Eminem was the first rapper that I ever listened to. So when I was in like year 4, I was like 8 or 9. I used to go on my family computer on YouTube.
I bet that went down the storm.
Get like Eminem like classic songs on and rap along to them. I was 8 or 9.
I wouldn't get used rapping in a later podcast.
And so I've always
Yeah, I'd like that actually, Goose. A bit of rap from you in a later
well,
podcast.
you know, like yeah, I'm sure. If the
Get
viewers
that
want
sorted.
it.
He's a quality singer. I bet he can rap.
Yeah. So he's always been an idol of mine. Eminem. I've always loved his music. He's in the film. Is it 8 Mile?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
great
yeah,
in
yeah.
that and that into his story. He's got a very interesting life, obviously. And I think he'd be a great person to have on.
Greatest rapper of all time?
No.
No, greatest white rapper of all time.
Ooh.
Sure we can agree on that.
I know why you've said that as well.
Racist.
because Obviously,
Not racist.
No longer with us.
Tupac, unfortunately, no longer with us. So.
Really?
Actually, I don't know much
even
about it.
Biggie.
You looked into we could do one on like conspiracies and Tupac and stuff.
Well,
Maybe.
There's certainly a conspiracy to be had there. Because,
Yeah.
I've actually
Yeah,
never, I've only-
tragedy that.
I don't know much about it, to be honest.
Who else would you throw?
Well, you're missing out.
Greatest rapper of all time. Who do you suggest?
Biggie's up there. Not quite Tupac,
Yeah, see,
but
I-
he's second.
It's
Definitely
not
second.
the greatest, but my favourite one at the moment is actually Logic. If any of you know him. I don't know. I just
Oh,
like
I tell you
I think
what,
he's overrated.
I tell you who is the greatest rapper at the moment. Santan Dave.
You
Oh
saw it,
my
didn't you?
god.
Wait, did you see it
I went to see him.
recently? The
Yeah.
recent one,
He's
I've never heard
unbelievable.
a song
Oh
of his.
god.
See, a lot of people don't know
Missing
him.
out, Miles.
He's 19 years old. He's from South London. His name is Dave.
Really?
Oh,
He's got
really?
he's got some unbelievable songs, and you really should listen to him. He's up and coming.
What's your favourite of his? Like that you'd recommend to like Miles?
Right, viewers listen to like Wanna Know, which is Drake's in that. You listen to Samantha. My favourite Dave song. Hang on. I like Revenge. I think Revenge is good. I like Game Over on his new EP.
Yeah.
You know, guys, viewers, get into Dave. Dave is great.
Is he paying you for this? Like?
No, but
Sponsored.
I feel like I need to plug
If
Dave.
you want to sponsor us, please do.
Yeah, please do. Dave Santan. There you go.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. We could go on to
Interesting opinion.
And now, these guests, obviously, they're all dreams, I think we'd agree. Maybe, actually, no, they're all pretty
They are pretty aspirational. let's
pretty
put it that way.
unrealistic. You know, if True Geordie can go from like a webcam to Shearer, who knows
agree.
what could happen.
Yeah.
But there actually is one, yes, and I'm being deadly serious here. This is a real reality that could happen. And Harry, you lead into that. What's it?
Yeah, so obviously we're going to move on to talk about The Apprentice because it's the dreaded interview stage tonight, and
Can't wait. Cannot
can't wait for that.
Elizabeth.
Well, we'll talk
Elizabeth,
about
yeah.
that.
Big
Elizabeth.
up
We'll
Elizabeth.
mention that in a second.
Talk
But
about The Apprentice.
I think so. Obviously, at us where we are, we carry out a sweepstake every year, and
Never won.
Never been fired.
yeah,
Never been fired. So we've done it. This is our 3rd year doing it. The
Third
first
year
year
doing it.
I had Varna,
Yeah.
who got to the final, came second. Next year, Alexandra, she walked out.
So you've never won.
I've never won, but I've never been fired.
Do you remember you brought like the skeleton, like the 2D skeleton?
Felipe.
Dear.
But now I reckon Elizabeth.
Well, it's interesting you mention her, and she is obviously another interesting character in the series, and we will talk about her in a minute. But I think we can all agree a personal favourite of ours is Mr. Charles Burns.
Charles Burns.
Yes.
Charles Burns, obviously, outspoken character on The Apprentice this year. Interestingly received by audiences. Well received here at Sevenoaks.
We loved him.
We love him.
We did love him.
I can't imagine anyone who doesn't.
We were certainly flying the Charles Burns flag, and actually, what we did since his disgraceful is the only word I can use for it.
He only got like 5 minutes.
Firing.
felt
It was
ill.
absolutely ridiculous.
I really
He was
did feel
fine.
ill.
I'm sure we'll talk about that task in a second. But
Yeah, we will.
what we did actually is, because we didn't want this to be the last we see of this man, so what we thought is we'll get him into this environment where he is well received and well liked, and we thought let him give a business masterclass, because I think it's clear from businesses he has run and businesses he proposed to Lord Sugar.
Yeah.
He does have solid business acumen.
He's only 24 as well.
He's
and
only
he
24,
runs.
he's young.
He runs 2, right?
He runs 2
Watches,
businesses.
I think it is.
Yeah. And we definitely feel like he's got potential to give a brilliant talk and good business advice to a lot of people here. So he's going to be giving a talk and a business masterclass at
We
our
arranged that.
school,
Yeah.
and that has been arranged by us. And also, what we're going to do during this time is
Is this still on?
it is on.
It is on.
Don't-
It is on.
Don't you worry, Miles.
Don't worry
It
about
is
that,
happening.
It's
We
happening.
thought it was going to happen, right? And then he got, as Harry previously said, disgracefully.
He was
fired.
disgracefully fired.
And that knocked our chances.
That did knock our chances, but I think our passion in presenting the idea to the school had come across very well.
Yeah.
They were very keen on the idea, and
Well,
we've
that's
gone away,
nice.
we've arranged it.
He'll come on.
And
He will
what we're going
come.
to do is get him to come on the podcast.
Big up
Skype-
Dr. R for
Skype
helping
call.
us.
We'll either get him in person.
We'll get him on the podcast.
We'll try and
Get
do
some more
podcast.
secrets about the Apprentice revealed,
Yeah.
and sort of get some business advice for young aspiring entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, because
Like
I think
us.
it is quite
Like
interesting.
us.
There's. I've never seen. Have you ever seen interviews about like what happens? Like, do the TV crew like leave the house? Like, how
There's been leaked
scripted
stuff
is it?
online.
I spoke to JD about it.
Did you?
Really?
I've met
Really?
him now. I've met him now.
I'll reveal
So there's
Go
been
on.
some.
around the time.
There's been some interesting stuff sort of leaked online. It's obviously the boardroom, as it's called, is a studio in Essex.
That really broke
It's not
my
a
heart.
board.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought-
just a
I thought it
studio,
was
isn't it?
Obviously, I think it's obvious, but the receptionist is an actress. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, she changes every time. Someone still has the same name.
She changed her voice this year, I think. as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Just got to get the token.
The first thing you film when you get to The Apprentice is actually your walk to the taxi,
Yeah.
your exit.
Oh.
The first thing you film is that. Obviously,
Yeah.
if you don't get fired, it doesn't get shown. But that is the first. So that is the reason actually for the the big booming coats that they wear as they're
Yeah.
leaving.
And it's like the same weather, isn't it?
I'd like to be wearing the sort of same outfit.
Yeah, it's the same weather all the time as well, which is like, think
But
about it.
obviously,
Like,
I'd love to drill in and sort of get to know more about what goes on The Apprentice. I'm sure Goose will sort of shed some light onto that with the discussion he had with one of Series 12's candidates, JD O'Brien.
Local.
Another local lad from Sevenoaks, well received. Another sweepstake candidate of mine.
I feel like
He owes me £2 for entry fee.
It's like that, wasn't it?
But yeah, it's an interesting thing that we'd be able to tap into if we were to get him on the podcast, and it seems like it could be a realistic possibility.
He's come down. He likes us. We've got to put a good chat with him.
He's a fan of us. We
Yeah,
don't-
yeah.
I don't know. We could get JD in easily, but
Yeah, I
Burns
mean-
top priority.
Charles Burns is top priority.
Yeah.
He does charge a fee.
He's
a busy
expensive.
man.
He's
an expensive
expensive.
man.
Valuable time.
He's bleeding us dry. He really is. But we think it'll be
He's
worth
a
it.
businessman, you know. We should have tested his negotiation skills.
Yeah, I think we talked about the interviews coming up tonight. I think it's worth. Obviously, I think when this podcast will be released, it'll already have been aired, and you'll already know what's happened. But obviously,
Good to reflect on.
We're on the Wednesday. We're
Good, yeah.
recording
Recording
Wednesday.
this on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
recording on a Wednesday, miserable afternoon in
It's on
England,
the
nothing
flowers.
new.
Yeah.
It's got a storm weather.
A bit of storm weather. So we're going to sort of discuss sort of the final five and what we think of their chances and how they've performed so far. So, chatters, do you want to kick us off with anyone in particular?
Kick us off.
All right, so I mean, I've got to say personally, I love Elizabeth. I know everyone always takes the mickey out of her, with
One
her
thing she
oafish
does-
attitude.
She's a character. She makes
Yeah,
good TV.
yeah.
TV, 100%.
Elizabeth is my sweepstake candidate, and at the start of the process, she comes on. She looks like
Bit of a
absolute.
bull in the china shop.
I just thought
think we can-
there is no way this woman is winning. Absolutely no
Nah,
way.
she's good.
But over the weeks, she's put in some
developed.
good performances.
Himself
Alex Ford, if you're listening, what do you think now? What do you think now, Alex Ford? You slated her every single week. Now she's doing well.
doing pretty well.
She's doing well. L for you, Alex Ford.
Now, if you're not listening.
But It's true, but I think she's really come on, and she's learned to control herself in the boardroom.
I think
No, she has. She's one of the most improved, I'd say.
Definitely,
she's one of the most improved. I
without
think
question, to quote
if
Burnsy.
we're to foreshadow what's to happen tonight, I think where she could come unstuck, and it has been sort of referenced continuously throughout the process, is sort of her abrasive nature. And what I mean by that is, she throws herself, head first into every task, and sometimes it's perceived as selfishness, not playing as a team member, trying to make it sort of the Elizabeth show, as Lord Sugar's referred to it. So what do you think about that? I think it'd be interesting to see what happens tonight, because I think it could go two ways. She could come across I think she'll come across absolutely terribly, and it'll make brilliant TV. Or, she could pull it out the bag and surprise everyone, but I think with what's been said so far, it might not potentially be looking good for her. She could come unstuck.
One thing that I do worry about with her is because she's such a big presence and big character, is that Lord Sugar.
6'2".
6'2", like
Lord
size 10 feet or
Lord
so.
Sugar beta mentality gets intimidated.
She is massive. That is what I worry. I worry that he won't want to work with someone that is so boisterous.
Heavyweight as such.
Bit of a fragile ego.
He split with the.
What?
He split with Valente, didn't he? That's right. The winner of
Yeah.
Series 11.
The guy who robbed me of my money.
That's right. You're in the final with Varner.
You have to pay it back now, please,
Pitched
Joseph.
You're quite lucky, actually.
Investment.
You always do quite well. You always get quite far.
No, she walked out in week 4 last year.
He never got fired though.
Although,
Never got fired,
to be
no.
fair, if we're talking sweepstakes, I think excluding this year, the 2 years beforehand, I have been absolutely mugged off. What was her name? Natalie 2
Oh,
years
dear.
2 years ago.
She was awful.
Dear
And
me.
then last year, Mackay. Both complete disasters.
Yeah, he was such a fraud.
Complete disasters. Came in, no clue what they were doing. I'm absolutely livid that they nicked my money off me. They both went early on. Mackay kept, bumbling about like he was some big old businessman. kept getting wax lyrical about because he
faced
worked in
more
Dubai.
boardrooms and I've had hot dinners. It was ridiculous. Every time his team lost, he was in the boardroom.
Yeah. And then furthermore, every time he actually got into the boardroom, it was always this doughy persona. Worked in Dubai, world-renowned businessman. He's just, got this global attitude. Absolute rubbish. He didn't know a single thing. Complete disaster.
Speaking of Dubai, do you remember that guy? Was it Z?
Zishan,
Z.
9.
And he was like
Discount
they,
buying.
they went to Dubai for that task.
discount
He was like, I
buying
live in
task.
Dubai. I know my way around Dubai. And they
Back
got
of my
lost.
hand.
They were getting lost.
Someone gets a map out and he's like, put that away. Put that away. I know.
I know Dubai at the back of my hand.
It's funny you
and they got
mentioned that,
lost.
Goose, because I was watching that the other week.
What were you?
Yeah, I was watching that exact episode the other week. It was pretty unbelievable.
Right.
He's an interesting character, Zishan. He was probably the most sexist.
I hated him.
Probably the most sexist man I've ever seen on television. If you actually break the task down, the two people at fault were two men in the team, and he decides to bring two women back into the boardroom. Didn't go down well. And he went, and to be honest, he deserved to go purely for his arrogance. But it did make good TV.
In fact, speaking of arrogance, do you remember? I think it was in one of the earlier series. I can't put my finger on who it was, but I remember there was someone who hadn't been project manager. He became project manager. Then there was a character in his team who tried to contradict him, and he just stood up and started going, "I am your boss.
Yes,
I am your boss." That's it. Series 1.
Rory was his name. That's right.
So that's the one. Rory.
Obviously,
I am your boss.
There's
That is an iconic moment.
There's a lot of characters in the Apprentice. It's a funny show, but now they're kind of getting to the serious point. So there's 5 left. Who are we tipping?
We talked about Elizabeth. Who else?
Who are we tipping?
Who else is there?
I'm tipping
Joanna.
I'm tipping
my
James.
sweepstake candidate.
Rowan,
Joanna.
sweepstake candidate. Do you
Finger-
want to talk a bit about her, Rowan?
Tell us about it.
I mean, I have questions about. I mean, I'm gonna back her all the way because she's my sweepstake candidate.
There's 40
but
quid on the line. You should be back.
I can't lie. I am not confident. She's been a complete disaster all throughout. Dodged away somehow out of the boardrooms.
She was good last
but, I
week,
mean,
though.
She was good last week.
She was
I
good
think that
last week.
gives her a
She was good
chance.
last week,
Yeah,
but
she does fashion. Like she had to win that.
No, but if you look at it, Miles, the first thing they showed when they got into those taxis and they were on the way to the task is that they lose she's gone. And to be fair to her, she delivered a good performance. You know,
No, she did really
I think it's clear her team weren't completely behind her, but I thought she managed them quite well. It was definitely her best performance to date in the series.
I was very surprised.
I was very surprised. I have to say, I put on our group chat, as soon as they showed her being project manager, I thought she was toast. I thought she was God. I thought there was no way that she could possibly pull such a team together, because I think if you break the two teams down, definitely the weaker team, in my honest opinion.
Yeah. So Angus, you want her to win, obviously. You don't think she will. Who do you think will win? Who are you tipping?
Who am I tipping?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna tip Elizabeth, because
That's controversial, that is.
Oh, no, I'm James. Team James.
I think the thing with James is he's a good candidate, but Sugar doesn't like him.
That's true.
He doesn't. He's a bit of a bottler, isn't he?
Because he always calls him out. Like,
He's a
telling
bit
him
of a
to man
bottler.
up.
Yeah.
He told the
And
man up a couple
think
of weeks ago. That could count against him.
That's a big issue. I think it's more.
I
like
think
to have
if he
someone
can't
like
stand
Michaela.
up for himself tonight, I think he's in for a rude
Is
awakening.
he the only boy left now?
He is the only man left in the process.
Like fraud Harrison's gone.
Yeah, he was poor. To be honest, I don't know how he made it so far, if I'm being
There
honest.
are the ones.
I'll tell you how.
They're
he
the
made
ones
it
that
so
just
far.
they fly under the radar. and
They
then
do,
eventually
don't they?
get
And
found.
they-
I'll tell you exactly how Harrison made it this far. All right. So it's this weird Lord Sugar agenda against articulate people and for these Cockney,
Yeah, like Valente.
Englishmen,
You might kind of
where not going to
You
professional
might
experience,
kind of
come through
guy.
the streets, and Harrison epitomised that. And then he actually got into a serious task. He's completely out of his depth and got exposed.
Well, he's
It's just-
rearranging furniture.
Yeah.
He contributed absolutely nothing to the task.
It's just that
I think if you
weird
put me in
agenda.
there, I'd have contributed more, because he
You know,
was
first-
ducking it. He presents himself as some sort of like alpha male, describes himself as the chosen one.
He is
not chosen.
But Goose, if he was an alpha male, he'd be standing up for himself and saying,
he got thrown around.
I'm not here to clean up. I'm here as a businessman. I'm not going to be, rearranging furniture for you.
Who was the one that tried
And he'd
to
have
hammer-
contributed
who tried
something
to hammer a
conducive and
screw?
concise to the task, and he didn't.
Who was it that tried to hammer a screw? It was like a few years ago.
That was McGim.
He was like,
That was McGim.
he was like, he must have gone on some show like
The,
Big Brother or something.
Yet
He
another
was
prime
hilarious.
example of Lord Sugar's agenda
Well, I think that's
against
another-
articulate.
But I think
He was
also,
just-
well,
he was just
if
fine.
I think
McGim.
Miles alluded to it. It's another example of how the series has declined. It's regressed. The sort of candidates nowadays, it's much more of a
You get like-
TV reality. It's
Yeah,
more
they-
of a reality show in general.
is.
Because
Mate, Katie Hopkins on the first series.
correct.
And
Was
got,
she?
and got to
What
the
did she
final.
become famous for?
Yeah.
That.
I mean,
Whatever you think of
We're gonna
Katie
talk about
Hopkins.
Katie
That's what I'm
Hopkins.
saying. No, what I'm saying is it's always been like that.
No, if you actually watch the first series,
It was a bit
It was
more personal, actually.
it was she was on the third series. It was much more of a business show.
there's more swearing though. It was more like.
It was much more raw. It was uncut, and it was much more sort of. If you were watching it as a businessman, it was much more enjoyable
Yeah, I
as such.
can agree.
I think nowadays,
I think it's more
You
successful.
have
They're
characters
quite-
like McGim, as you've mentioned, trying to hammer a screw. God bless him. You have characters like Elizabeth. They are entertaining. They make good TV. They keep people switched on. I think there's been a lot of criticism of series in recent years being a bit boring, and I think this series has been boring as such.
Yeah.
But it would be a lot more boring if Elizabeth wasn't in there. Quite frankly,
They have to
the way
balance
that
it.
they're actually presenting the series nowadays.
The way I used to love
As
it,
a TV
the reason I used
show.
to love it was because they used to balance it so well. So the first few episodes, you'd have the idiots and it'd be hilarious, and then eventually,
It gets serious.
we're still not down to a
Yeah.
completely serious bunch. Before, like the last minimum 2 tasks would be like serious, good, a business show. But like now, you're going to get a few good ones, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
more of just a reality show.
I think there are some good ones tonight. Sort of, we talked about.
mean,
going back
you'll know
to
who,
it.
if you lift, you'll know who would have won.
I think going back to it. I mean, I don't know about James. He could go either way for him. I think if he can go in there and show that he has developed, he can stand up for himself in there, then it might go well for him. But again, it could go either way. I'm not sure. I'm not sure with him. I'm unconvinced.
I think we can agree that Sarah Jane is the best candidate.
Sarah Jane went in week 6.
Oh, Sarah.
Sarah Lynn.
Yeah, Sarah. Yeah, she is the best candidate.
I think that the edit has shown that as well. The edit,
Yes.
I believe so.
Because I think she's got the widest range of skills.
I'd
and
agree.
She can do pretty much everything.
Although, like you say, the widest range of skills. I don't think that's a good thing. I think she's got a wide range of skills, but she's a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Yeah.
I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I'm a firm believer
Could be true.
For example, although Kartik, I remember he was a bit of a meme.
Well, I think the prime example.
But he had that one skill, but it was kind of the way he came across.
The prime example of sticking to what you're good at, and that yielding success in The Apprentice is Joseph Valenta, who we talked about. Who obviously he won The Apprentice 2 years ago.
He was biased though to him
Because what he stuck to was what he know. He branched out his plumbing business, and he didn't try and do anything fancy. And he just stuck to what he did, which was selling. Very good at that. Pretty good at managing. And I think if you're, like Rohan said, if you can master something in The Apprentice, and it is something like selling or negotiating or that one area, if you're a specialist in one area, and you are able to get that over to him, he will look more fondly upon something like that than someone who is balanced but isn't particularly amazing at anything. Now, I tend to agree with Angus. I would make Sarah front runner to reach the final tonight and possibly win the process. Obviously, we don't know her business plan. I mean,
she's the one from Manchester who's already got a successful business.
No, that's Michaela.
Who's Sarah? Is she the one that got in the boardroom last time?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned that boardroom because she probably should have. Well,
no.
I don't know if she should have gone.
Maybe based on that task, but not on the overall process.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? He was never going to fire her last week. If you look at it, he only fired Jade because he wasn't going to fire Sarah.
Yeah, we know that Jade is a far better candidate than Joanna.
Correct.
Jade is a better candidate than Sarah. I think Sarah is. I think like the problem is that I'm going to call it now that tonight or if she reaches the final, Lord Sugar is going to say something along the lines of, "What are you actually good at?" or "What can I trust you?"
Interesting prediction.
Something
I
like
wonder
that.
what odds you get
happen.
from Paddy Power on those words coming tonight.
I mean,
what are you actually good at?
I mean, I've actually been quite good at these kinds of predictions before.
We've been bad this year, actually.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm usually pretty good with my predictions.
You've been wrong a lot.
I've been
this
poor.
Oh, no,
You have
no,
true
no,
at all.
I've been poor.
Not true
It's
at
like
all.
Charles Burns.
Since episode 6,
Charles Burns.
I'll happily admit I've been a disaster for my predictions.
Credit to the show.
But what they do, it is credit to the show, and this is what I
Before
want to
it was
mention.
too easy.
Actually, it was miles too easy to predict. Last year, I pretty much had every firing to a T because the trailers were too obvious. And fair play to them this year, they've thrown a few curveballs in there, and I like that. The problem with it is that if it's too easy to analyse, you'll do it, and you'll work out very quickly who's going when because you know who can't be going on a precise week. This year, what they've actually done is they've mixed in a few clips from the final to throw people off, so sort of to make it appear as if people are in future tasks, but they're actually not, and that's throwing a lot of people off the scent, like myself, trying to predict it. And I think it makes it more entertaining for a viewer if you don't know who's going to be fired going into that episode.
Yeah, I agree. Also like, I think what was it like a couple of years ago maybe that like on Wikipedia and Reddit they sort of predicted the entire thing, and from like I think in week 4 they predicted every single task all the way down to the final and who wins, and they got it completely right. And I mean like this is different
too easy to do
from like the Twitter ones though, when they tweet every single permutation of the draw, delete the wrong ones, and then unlock their account. And it's different. This was like on Reddit, I think, and it was completely spot on. It was utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, speaking of The Apprentice, I think he might have been Lord Sugar's most successful business is Mark, who did Climb Online, who me and Rohan actually almost went into business with this summer. Tell them about that.
Yeah,
because Goose was involved.
Yeah,
I was
We were basically doing a consultation.
This is good.
A consultation contract for a company regarding recruitment, and obviously. And obviously, shout out to them. They're a good company.
They were good. They communicated
Tell you
well.
what, I won't shout out to them because I suggested a wonderful Twitter bio to change to, and they didn't. They ignored me.
They ignored your suggestions.
I'm still bitter about it.
Well, to be honest, Goose, they should have listened to you because obviously you got someone fired from their company with your success.
Yeah, I'll fill you in.
We
did this like I think it's called Entrepreneurship in Action, and we were working for a non-profit nursery called NEYF. And they brought us in to do a marketing scheme, an advertising scheme to get people in, and we did loads of good stuff. And then
Didn't use any of it.
Yeah, and then later on, I mean, what did we see, Rohan? What did you find out?
We had a bit of a Google, to see if they'd taken any of our offers. We went onto one of the recruitment sites, and we see at the top of the list, LEYF, head of marketing, vacancy. And that was the guy who came and spoke to us, giving us a lecture on how to do a campaign.
Yeah.
Sorry, son.
He got
Don't
shown
think
up.
it's so much
Got
of an expert
shown
now.
up by a bunch of school children.
We
They're like, listen,
reckon
listen,
he
man.
got fired.
Yeah, I honestly think he got fired from us because they were like, listen, like we were like, what, year 11 time, like these year 11s have done a far better job than you or your team. And they fired him. I do think it was because of us, and I feel kind of bad because I think he hired us.
He might not have been fired. He may have been.
Can only speculate.
His role may have been.
It's likely though. It's likely.
Yeah, sorry if I was.
So I think the main. Sorry if I've upset anyone with false information, but I think the main point we're trying to make is, that Goose made some very good suggestions.
He did
during the process.
I've used that experience and I've translated that to this to make our own.
Yeah,
our
exactly.
own social media accounts.
But anyway, like
check them out.
Yeah.
Link in the
Oh
description.
yeah. Do you want to plug him now quickly?
I just did. Link in the description.
Oh
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
on
but-
it.
What are the apps? What are the apps? Anyone know?
It's at the LBP podcast.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's the one.
Just double check.
And like going back to so we were basically doing like this job and basically we wanted to see if there were any companies that would help us out in their like recruitment like contract or whatever in their strategy. So we actually decided to call up Climb Online, had a good in-depth chat, we got some really good stuff from them. And although like our project deadline ran out before we could get any anything
realistically,
concrete
the
done.
amount of money they wanted us to pay,
Yeah,
I
was
felt quite bad
ridiculous.
actually because you were wasting their time.
Yeah, but like we did get good ideas, and funnily enough, my family's business actually is working with them now.
Is that your sister? Yeah.
Yeah. So she's basically working with them now, and they're doing an absolutely stellar job. Actually,
You're still gonna say that.
Well,
they're doing a stellar
it's
job.
interesting because the debate about who's been his most successful winner since he started going into business with them. That was the first series I watched live, and he was an incredibly good candidate, Mark. And he's another example of a candidate sticking to what they know and branching it out.
Full stop.
But I think
Most successful.
Yeah, so he turns over the most apparently out of all the candidates that Lord Sugar's gone into business with.
Do you reckon he
I'd say
resents
Dr.
that?
Lear.
It's like he's giving 50%.
Yeah,
of,
Dr. Lear was
his
good as
profits to Sugar.
Good candidate. Yeah,
Dr. Lear was I think she's done really good actually. I think
done well for herself.
I don't know who it is, but I know. I think my family knows someone who's actually been to Dr. Lear's clinic, and apparently she's actually got a really good operation going on there, which is
Really?
yeah, it's pretty good. Apparently.
Well, she was a good candidate. I remember on the interview, she was talking to Claude, I think.
She's very clear. Yeah, I've seen
And
that.
she
She
just
spoke
went
very
so
quickly.
quickly. She
Bang,
had so
bang, bang,
much.
bang,
She
bang, bang.
knew
She was
all.
very clear exactly what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
Stuck to what she knew, and it paid off. Lord Sugar was, he was very happy with her business
So
proposal.
what other candidates?
I don't know,
Michaela?
one show that's just ended was I'm a Celebrity. I couldn't keep up with it. There was too much.
Oh, I actually just finished it.
Angus isn't a
couple
fan of
days
it.
ago.
Shaking his head.
It's not that I'm not a fan of it.
It's too hard to
I just
keep
got
up
a bit
with.
bored of it because it's
I
just the
know.
same.
It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
there's
It's like,
no
it's like an hour and a half
It's the same
every night.
It's the
I
same.
just can't
it's,
keep
yeah,
up
it's the
with
same
it.
thing every year, and they never get celebrities on there.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's like a
little bit.
month though. That's the thing. It's quite hard. To, like,
Yeah, like the problem is with it is that it's a good show usually.
Good
but,
concept.
But yeah, the thing that made it interesting historically was the conflict and
Lady
the absolute
C.
Russells
Lady
that
C.
were going on in it.
They
Lady
tried to-
C,
I read
Eric
about
Bristow.
this actually. Yeah.
But
Eric
the
Bristow,
last
crafty
couple,
Cockney.
yeah, exactly.
Shout out
yeah.
to the Cockneys.
But like the last couple of years, like especially last year, was so boring. Absolutely no substance or
dross.
anything.
I think that's why I
This
stopped
year-
watching it.
Dross.
This year, I mean,
better.
Ian sort of made a start.
Well, that's
with
why
that,
he stayed in for so long.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. And like Amir with the strawberries and cream incident. I mean,
Brilliant, Russell.
but
Definitely
like,
something I would do.
agree. I think me and I had a bit of a conversation about that if we were in there, we'd do
Doing
it
that.
every single time because there's
Has
no
to be
way they'd
done.
ever know.
We'd be banned from Dingo Dollar challenges.
Dingo Dollar Challenge. Oh my god.
So I think back to sort of the conversation we were having. We were talking about sort of potential candidates. We discussed Sarah, Michaela. What do you think of Michaela?
At first, I thought Michaela was going to win. I thought she was really
Yeah,
good.
because she's successful, isn't she?
She came
She
across
is.
actually very well.
But then she had a couple bad. Like she
I think
bustled that
recently what's been
pitch.
shown with her,
She's a
and
bit
obviously
rude.
She is a bit rude. She's abrasive. She's quite
Nervous.
aggressive.
She gets nervous.
She does get nervous, but it's weird because she doesn't appear nervous.
Yeah, because she's.
No, I saw this thing on Twitter.
And,
I might be wrong, but apparently, like, because of her accent, she's like embarrassed about pitching or something. Like,
Yeah, she doesn't like pitching.
yeah, because she's like
Task
people will
7.
judge her because of her voice. So
Yeah,
it's a bit weird.
she doesn't seem like the type. But
I
then
think that's pathetic, actually. Like,
I feel
come
sorry
on,
for
come on,
her.
you can't be scared of pitching. If you're going into business and you're scared of pitching, you're an absolute joke. I have no idea how she's become so successful by being scared of
other people to do
pitching.
it.
What a
Wait,
joke!
She runs a construction company, doesn't she?
But still, come on, it is semi-successful. But to get to the top, you've got to be able to pitch. That's
so
a
you'd have been
joke.
confident taking that pitch on then.
Yes. If I was there in the task and I had been working on it for the day that they had been, and I knew my stuff, I'd be confident doing the pitch with no preparation, just like that LEYF project we did.
You guys,
It was superb.
Angus especially was a poster boy of that video. They made a video on it, and Angus and Rohan featured heavily, didn't they?
I did a cheeky interview as well.
Yeah,
Quality.
I think to an extent you've
Check
got
it
a
out.
point.
LEYF Entrepreneurs in Action, 7 Oaks School.
We're not. Yeah.
You can see.
I think to an extent.
Thank you, Christian.
To an extent, you do have a point regarding Michaela. I think her lack of confidence when
Pathetic.
pitching. I'm not going to go that far. Her lack of confidence when pitching will count against her, because I think you have to be confident in the world of business. I think Karen Brady said it to her early on.
Yeah.
And usually when you're
Harsh but fair.
harsh but fair.
It is harsh but
Not a
fair.
fan.
Harsh but fair.
Not a fan, Goose.
I don't like Karen Brady, no.
No,
She came
do
to
I
our school,
actually.
didn't she? I'm really gutted. I had something on that I couldn't see it.
Couldn't
Oh
attend.
mate, it was terrible.
Were you there? Were you there?
Honestly, yeah, I was there. Honestly, you missed completely nothing. She was just there selling these government business mentorships. Like, oh, if you want to start a business, you got to have someone there mentoring you through it. Selling these shitty government mentorships, which are completely useless, which no one's even going to use. It was a complete mockery of a talk.
Yeah. We got a point to an extent. I think the point made is whether we like her or not, Lord Sugar, you know, he will listen to those two advisors more than anything else. And if she's saying
She's
that
clearly
Michaela,
successful.
she's a very successful businesswoman.
Not with West Ham.
I just think she's a bit rude to the candidate.
She is. She's
Because
become.
she'll
It's funny
never
actually because when
compliment
she
them.
was introduced, she seemed, you know, very nice. But I think as the series has progressed, she's become more harsh. I like it. I have to say, I do like that kind of style.
Because you used to
of
have
dealing with
Nick,
people.
didn't you? Because like the whole premise of Claude is he's supposed to be terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
generally the interview.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
also-
think so.
Yeah, I agree with Miles actually. It's sort of
I wouldn't be
defeated that.
scared of him. I'd love to do
No,
an
it's
interview
just the
with
role he plays in the interview.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a character.
And like, also, I don't know if anyone remembers, was it Margaret who was there first?
Yeah,
The first year?
Yeah, Margaret was. No, she went to like 4 or 5 seasons. wasn't she?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
she was there for 4 or 5 seasons. I think the point worth making though is that he will listen to what Karen says. If Michaela can't overcome her sort of shying away as such and being nervous of what other people think of her, that's going to count against her when going into business with Lord Sugar. What are your guys' predictions for tonight? Who's going to get through to the final?
Predictions. I'm just going to say predicting James to win.
James to win.
Sarah and Elizabeth to the final.
Ryan.
I'm going to go with Elizabeth, because I like her, and Joanna, because she's my sweepstake candidate.
You are controversial. I'm going to go with James. I'm going to go with James and Sarah. I think that's the most obvious two to pick.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up Apprentice chat there and wrap up the podcast because Angus has to go and we feel it's reached its natural length. Also, we've got to give a shout out to our sound engineer and head of tech,
Christian Sayers.
Christian
Thank you very
Sayers,
much.
who is with us right now. He'll come on at a later date, I'm sure. He has come in. I mean, we'll talk about that in another podcast, but
Yeah.
it's been very useful. So thank you, Christian. So that's all we've got time for this week. Normally the next podcast would drop every fortnight, but due to the festive period and prior arrangements, we're going to take a break, even though we've just started, and we'll be returning in early January. Thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of the low blood pressure team, I'm wishing you a very, very happy Christmas.